What's going on, guys? National Master James Canty III here with Chess.com, and today we have Game of the Day with Tournament Arc Finals. With the white pieces, we have Giga, and with the black pieces, we have Sea Dog. Let's get right into it, guys. We have E4, E5, Knight F3, and Knight to C6. Followed up with D4 here, and now we have the Scotch game. I'm a very big fan of the Scotch game, or just attacking positions and openings, period here. But if you like attacking chess, definitely give the Scotch game a try. Garry Kasparov actually used it as an alternative to the Roy Lopez, just to have something else to play, and he actually did very well with it, a plus record with the Scotch game with strong grandmasters. So after d4, e takes d4, knight takes, and you have many moves here for black, which is knight f6, bishop c5, d6, even bishop b4 check. You have many moves here, guys. But knight takes d4 is not one that we are afraid of with the white pieces here, because we have a lot of space, and you actually can't attack this queen like you would usually do, because the knight's already gone. So c5 is the only way to attack the queen, but that makes this pawn backward, and it makes things kind of awkward here. The next move by Sea Dog here is very surprising, interesting, but it is a pawn sacrifice, but it actually just doesn't work too much, especially if white just takes with the pawn, and we're totally fine here. But knight to c3 was the move here, just trusting that maybe he has something up his sleeve, so he played knight to c3 and didn't take it. Now, black played c6 here, just trying to defend the pawn, but at this point we can really just capture the pawn here. But of course, Giga just didn't like it. He was like, I don't want to take this pawn, we're just going to play f3 and bolster our center here, and if you do take this pawn, I'm going to make sure you don't castle anytime soon. So after that, now there's knight to f6. We have to develop our pieces. We got to get our pieces off the back rank here. Moves that are very nice for white here are e5, even just developing like bishop to g5. You do have to watch out maybe for c5 in some cases, but you do have this nice check as an in-between move that should get you out of almost anything related to the queen. After knight f6, we have bishop to e3, and then bishop to b4 here. All right, guys, so what's the move here? What would you do? What do you do here, guys? Bishop to b4, that is not the best move. We already know this, guys. Don't leave your pieces hanging. Don't leave your pieces hanging. Before you let your piece move, or before you let your piece go, are there any checks or captures on the board? There's a capture here. There's a capture here. What do? Bishop to b4. He actually plays a3 and completely misses it. Completely misses it. It does happen sometimes. Even the best of the best sometimes hang pieces and miss the pieces are hanging. a3, bishop takes c3, queen takes c3, d takes e4, and then queen e5 check. So here, actually backing up here, rook to d1 is the move. You also have bishop c5. This is just interesting stuff. Sometimes you want to think outside the box here just to see what kind of moves you do have. Look at the entire board, maybe even moves like bishop to c4, sacrificing a pawn, and you could just take it and try to take on g7 as well. He chose queen to e5 check, and after bishop to e6, now we're taking the pawn, he says, and then knight to g4, which is very interesting. The knight is hitting the queen and the bishop. We need something to do, so he gets out of the way. Queen to g3, I don't want you to take my queen. And then after castles, I can't castle yet, of course, due to the d-file lockdown. I have to do something about it. So he says, you know what, bishop to d3. Let's just block the file here and start aiming on this side of the board anyway. Sea Dog says, knight takes e3. I want that bishop. Queen takes e3 to follow. We look at the position here. It's roughly even on everything. Pawns, the same color bishop. The only thing that's different is this isolated pawn here, which in isolated pawn positions and same color bishop here, then this could be a problem for white if you get the queens off the board. If you don't, then maybe we can have some attacking chances because we do have an isolated pawn. But when you do have an isolated pawn, the rule of thumb is not to trade so many pieces. And here we only have a bishop left and 2 rooks. So with the queen, of course, this is going to be difficult to attack, but let's see what happens. Rook to e8 and get out of the way. Castle queen side, guys. Absolutely. When you castle on opposite sides of the board, like I said before in different videos here on Chess.com, make sure that if you're castled on opposite sides, whoever gets to the king first is going to win, right? Let's see what happens. Queen to c7. Queen to c7. He gets out of the way. He says, you're not going to move your bishop and hit me with the x, right? And then e5 happens. Actually opening up the file or opening up the diagonal. The bishop needs to be alive here. Bishop to d5, attacking the g2 pawn. I'd love you for take my g2 pawn so I can just have some extra pressure here as a pawn sacrifice. Rook h to f1, just kind of like putting some pressure here, but I think that this move is just an error. Rook takes c5. If bishop takes g2, we do have rook g1, but this one's an error here. Maybe he has plans of like rook f4 or rook f5, but rook h to f1 is not the best move here. And after rook takes e5, which he does take, we still have some counterplay. Queen to f4, which is not attacking anything here yet. And here's the thing, guys. When you make moves, you need to attack. You want to attack as hard as you can here. But the Scotch game has lots of potential. Even if you are a beginner, it has lots of potential for attack. And let's see what happens. Rook to e7. Everything seems fine. Even if we do a piece count right here, black is up a pawn. Okay? 5 pawns to 6 pawns. Black's up a full pawn. So we need something to do. Queen h4. Just attack it. Attack the pawn. h6, he says, not today. You're not about to checkmate me. Not that simple. Then he plays g4. Oh, man. This is now about to get crazy here. This is what we wanted. This is the kind of positions you want in a Scotch game. Now we have everything we need, or almost, to get a very nice attack here. g5 is almost unstoppable. It may force you to play f6, which is a very ugly move to make. And then maybe you could play queen h5 or h4, or trying to get h4 in as quickly as possible, because bishop f7 is quite annoying after queen h5. But g4... followed by g5, and then sometimes, guys, when pressure happens, when you're putting pressure on your opponent, they just collapse. It just, what happened? Where did they go? I don't know what happened. They were just here, and then they were gone by the next move after g4. g5 on the board. On the board. Sometimes when you make a move, it scares your opponent. And after g5 definitely is like, oh no, I don't want you to play g5, so I'm going to play g5 myself. But at the same time, I hang everything else around my home. Everything else is gone. And then f6 happens. Oh my goodness, that one's gone too. And then we have rook f8. Whoa, we can just take that. We can just take it right now. And he actually just took on g5 because he missed it, which is okay to miss it. Of course, we always miss things in chess, and we just get better. Rook to g7, hitting the queen. Queen h6. Rook takes g4, and then rook takes f8 mate. He found it there. He found it to clinch the first game of the match, and he went on to draw the second game of the match, which crowned him champion here, actually, of Tournament Arc, Giguk, with the white pieces. This was the Scotch game, guys, and make sure you guys are paying attention to your checks and captures. Before I move, are there any checks or captures? If you like to play attacking chess, definitely check out the Scotch game, and look at the entire board before you move, guys. Very informative game here. A lot of things that you can learn from this game today, watching with the Scotch game. I'm National Master James Canty III with Chess.com, and this was Game of the Day, and I'll see you guys on the next video.